Hi, welcome to Planetary Calendars, Astro Portraits. I'm Ralph Demetrius, one of the astrologers. Our portrait this time is Joe Biden. Yes, President Joe Biden. Now, we had done a partial portrait of him before, comparing his chart to President Polk. Both Scorpios, both lifelong politicians. Fascinating portrait. Comparison. Maybe you want to go back and take a look at that because it really is interesting. But I wanted to do one just of our president. At the time when I did that, he was not yet. He had been a former VP, but he was not yet the president. Now, of course, he is. So what do we have to say about this Scorpio with Sagittarius rising in the Taurus moon? He was born on November 20th, 1942, a Friday. What is that? I think they're full of grace. At 8:30 a.m. in Scranton, PA. The sun is at 27 degrees Scorpio, late in the sign. It's conjunct within 1 degree Venus. Now, Venus conjunct the sun always gives a person a great deal of charm. A lot of times, great natural beauty as well. But charm is really that oozy charm that just comes off of Venus when it's conjunct the sun. The Mercury is at 21 degrees Scorpio. So it's close to the sun, 6 degrees away. Much more important is that there's certain stars in this part of the sky that are actually found all the time in Supreme Court justices. A lot of them have Scorpio moons, for instance, late in the sign. 21 degrees Scorpio is conjunct certain stars that are known for brilliance, for mental brilliance. And he is a mentally brilliant person. It's something he underplays. It all hides underneath that Venus conjunct the sun, that great charm, but he's a brilliant, brilliant person. He has Mars in Scorpio. It's its rulership position, but it's a responsive position. You'd call it the feminine ruler. It's the extrovert. It takes place in the outer world, but it's responsive. So this is a person who works best when he's responding to a situation or responding to the actions of another person. And because it's in that extrovert position, it becomes really powerful for these other planets. All these other planets become greatly empowered by the Mars and Scorpio in that position. Also, the rising is 3 degrees Sagittarius. So this whole group of planets, 12, 21, 27, 28, are all in what's called the Gogolon spot. It's that place right above the rising. In other words, if you went outside when he was born just after the sun broke over the horizon. That was preceded by Mars and Mercury and followed immediately by Venus. Boom! Mars is here. The sun is here. It's a tremendously powerful place. It gives a person a huge amount of leverage in their life. So these planets have a lot of leverage. These are the planets you want to have leverage because they're action planets. What's interesting is it's the 12th house, which is the house that relates to government. The 12th house is kind of nebulous. It's kind of invisible in some ways. We don't really see the government. You see the actions of the government. We don't really see it. It's so big. It's so spread out. I think federal government's the biggest employer of people our government is the largest employer of people in the country. And yet, how often do we see it? Now, interestingly, just below the rising at 9 degrees of Scorpio or Sagittarius, I keep confusing those two for some reason, 9 degrees of Sagittarius, is the star Antares conjunct Juno, marriage. And marriage has always been very important to him. His first marriage, it was a tragedy that his wife and child were killed in an accident. But the marriage was very important to him. His second marriage is tremendously important. And this is a man he's got Venus conjunct the rising. Of course, he wants to have someone to love and to be loved. Venus conjunct the sun. He also has Estrella right down there. And Estrella, they say, is always related to the law and attorneys. And he, of course, is an attorney. Though he practiced for a relatively short period of time before he went into politics. Remember, he started in politics, I think, just 27 or 28 years old. And then from there on, I don't think he's ever lost an election. So he's had steady work. Except for those years between being a VP and being president. I guess he was kind of semi-retired then. Now, the moon is in Taurus at 0 degrees Taurus. Okay, right at the first degree. So it's not an exact opposition. He's not born right at the full moon, but by full moon by sign. It's in Taurus, which is the exalted position. It's a Venus-ruled position. So having Venus conjunct the sun really empowers that. Venus and Taurus in the 6th house. His incredible desire to help people is right there. That moon in Taurus in the 6th house is that, emotional gut desire to help people. That I've got the strength to help you and I'm going to help you. He likes being in positions of power. Scorpios always like positions of power. But that moon in Taurus likes having the resources, to do that. Oh, you need a grant? No problem. Oh, you need a bill for this? No problem. We'll find a way to put that together. At the 7th house, right, he's got Uranus in Gemini and Saturn in Gemini. So that ability to make partnerships. People always say it's funny, he's so much time in the center of things. He's actually a very liberal person in many ways. He's very liberal in approach. The reason he's always at the center is that he's always willing to make the deal. He will find some way to get everyone to come together. And it's funny how when they come together, there's Joe Biden right at the middle of it. Because he found what point was going to be the tipping point and put himself there. Now, he has the midheaven in Virgo. Now, Virgo rules the 6th house. Once again, a real desire to serve. Virgo in the midheaven. North Node in Virgo conjuncts Regulus, the royal star. The real desire to serve as a leader. Regulus, the heart of the lion, a desire to serve in his career, right? Jupiter in Cancer in the 8th house. Now, this is significant because the 8th house relates to Scorpio very strongly. Jupiter in Cancer, right, is the exalted position. It's the best friend position. That Jupiter in Cancer, right, 25 degrees, is within a 2-degree exact trine of the Sun, 3 degrees within the Venus, and 4 degrees to the Mercury. The 8th house, the house of shared power, shared resources. This is a fantastic deal maker. He understands about how to make deals. He understands about the importance of, doing what you have to do. Remember, it's in Cancer, the sign of the mother. It's strong once again because, once again, the moon is in Taurus, so that's a very strong moon. So because it's a strong moon, the Jupiter, which is also exalted, these are 2 exalted positions, are really strengthened. And they're in 2 interesting houses, the 6th house and the 8th house. These are the hidden houses. They're houses of vulnerability. And the reason we call them vulnerability is that they are literally, when you walk in a room, the part you can't see, that's on the right side. That's basically the 8th house. The part you can't see on the left-hand side, that's the 12th house. Those are the corners you tend to forget about. When you walk in, you're looking there. You're not looking there. You're not looking there. Joe Biden is really good about doing stuff behind the scenes. You got him behind the scenes. He's got the sun in the 12th house, Jupiter in the 8th house, the moon in the 6th house. You get him behind closed doors. Boy, will he get things done. Get things done. What a talent for this. No wonder he's such a great politician. Most of what takes place with politicians when they're not out, doing speeches and kissing babies is done behind closed doors. And behind closed doors, he is a Scorpio. He is potentially very ruthless, very driven. 12th house with a strong ideology, right? 6th house, but with a gut desire to feed people and take care of people. 8th house, to understand a global connection. Jupiter in Cancer, America in the world, but home first. His championing of the common people is thoroughly authentic. Thoroughly authentic. He truly is a populist in terms of that. He really is focused on what do the people need. He feels that the wealthy people, that's great. That's good, you're doing great. There's no problem with that. He understands power. He's done great. But what do the common people need? And that's his job. So it's a fantastic chart. I mean, it is the quintessential politician's chart. And of course, even though he's great with doing all the stuff behind the scenes, he's got Sagittarius rising, supported by that Jupiter in Cancer. So he's great at going out there and being Sagittarius, generous, funny, stupid stuff comes out of his mouth now and then, and he's okay with it. That's Sagittarius. They get their foot stuck in the mouth sometimes, and they're okay with that. Sagittarius rising. And Jupiter in Cancer. Yeah, I'm funny, I'm generous, but I will feed you. There's a chicken in every pot. So it's a fantastic chart. It's interesting. We're also going to do the chart of Jill Biden, and we put up the bi-wheel of the two of them. And it's funny when you look at the sun in Scorpio, and she has the sun in Gemini. She has the moon in Gemini, Mars in Gemini, and he's got the moon in Taurus. I mean, you don't see the connections until you put the houses together, because he's Sagittarius rising. So his ideal wife, 7th house, is a Gemini. And she has the moon, Mars, the sun, and Vesta in Gemini, right? And then I'll go into that when I talk more about Jill's chart. But you see in these great synastry charts, you see these dual charts, you see, oh, right, they're connected in other ways. They fulfill very social roles for each other, And we think that Jill Biden has Libra rising. Joe and Jill. We think she has a Libra rising. That's based upon rectification, and that's a person who's really focused on, partnership. Partnerships for us. So for now, that's Joe Biden. I hope you found that interesting. Make sure you come back and see us on Tuesdays. That's when we do our portraits. And come back and see us on Fridays. That's when we do our forecast for the coming week. You can find those at Planetary Calendar Astrology with Ralph and Lonnie on YouTube. And you can find them also at planetarycalendar.com, where you can also find, of course, the planetary calendar, because you want to know what's going on, and our various books. Until next time, be well.